Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about your hardest decision in terms of keeping someone around that's been really loyal to you from the beginning of your startup, but is no longer producing at the level that you need them to, versus that natural tension between somebody that comes in and is a phenomenal performer. We see this a lot in the sports industry as head coaches are building their coaching staffs. And this is a true issue in developing leadership. And it's something that we're going to take a look at today. I'll give you a few recommendations on how I have worked to close this gap, and then when I've had to make those hard decisions and what that hard decision has actually been based on. So the dilemma at place is loyalty, performance, and where those two collide in a leadership circle. When you've got a really loyal employee, you really have a hard time seeing things rationally because they've been with you from the very beginning. They've been up, they've been down with you. Maybe you had a death in the family and they were incredibly supportive, or took over, or you had just some sort of rocky road and they were truly there without question. And so that relationship is really strong. You have a ton of history. So sometimes it's hard to view that individual with a rational lens. It's just impossible. And then when you get somebody new or someone different into the top leadership team who is just, a great performer, that relationship in the beginning is going to be a lot more transactional. It's not going to be quite as emotional. You're going to see better outcomes from this individual. But this individual, because they're talented and such a performer, it's also a less secure feeling because you don't know them very well yet. And so the true dilemma here that every leader struggles with, if they've got both types of these individuals within their organization, is this comfort factor versus the risk factor. So when you have a dilemma, you have to try to solve it. So you really have three challenges here. Your first one is, can you actually move loyalty? Can you actually shift this person's product, their work speed, their pace, whatever it is that you need? Can you actually shift it? Number two, your second challenge with performance people is, will they stay? Sometimes your hot ticket performance talented people are quick to leave, right? There's a little bit more of a turnover with that individual. And so your challenge also within this leadership role is cohesion. How do I blend both parts successfully? There is an inherent clash between these two types of individuals in a leadership role. Sometimes loyalty will dig their feet in and be like, well, I've been here longer. And performance is like, yeah, but I've got this, and I'm seeing outcomes that you haven't ever seen before. And there's a struggle. Sometimes there's a struggle for your attention. Sometimes there's a struggle for equal pay, higher pay, titles, whatever it is. And it will always cause an inherent tension between your loyal person and your performer person. So being the process-driven person that you are seeking a solution. Is there a way that we can move both standards? Can we push our loyalty person towards an uncomfortable growth? Oftentimes, loyalty people resist change because they're so used to the pattern that they've developed with you that they're kind of afraid to move outside of that. And so as leaders, we have to coach them to move beyond the comfort of that relationship and of what they've been doing up to now. And your performers, your job with them is to really coach them towards a leadership role and really give them opportunities to rise in the organization and feel challenged in the organization. So now that you know that you need to try to move both individuals, how do you do this? How do you put the plan together? Part of what you want to spend a little bit of time thinking about before we move to the next slide is a little bit of what we've just gone through recently in terms of coaching the 4 different type of stress reactors. You do want to know which stress reaction that your individual has, and that'll help you work with them a little bit better as you start to try to move each one of these individuals forward. So here are the steps that I've put together that I really would encourage you to think about as you're trying to approach your loyal person and your performer. Really make sure that you're starting with independent roles for these individuals that don't affect each other too much. Try to give them very separate skills and jobs to do if you notice that there's an inherent clash. Because until each one of them buys in a little bit more to what you're trying to do, there is going to be a tension between these two types of individuals. So in our world, in the coaching world, we can give individual people a chance to be in charge of things when we're the head coach or the head leader isn't present. In your world, that might look like you're in charge of this project, you're in charge of this project, but they're considered sort of equal importance projects. It's really, really critical with your loyal person and your performer person that you're constantly reminding each individual of the other person's role and the other person's value. Sometimes loyal people that have been with you for a really long time really don't like change. And so when somebody comes in that's really performing and bringing a new angle to the company, it's really important to describe to your loyal person how the performer is making their life within this organization better. So for example, in the coaching world, when you bring in a new recruiter and all of a sudden they're recruiting top crazy talent and the program's getting way faster, the effect for the loyal person is like, hey, listen, you're getting much better athletes to coach. You are getting faster athletes. Your chance of success on the race course is now so much higher because of what this individual has done for you. And so kind of reminding each person of their role and how it works in the big cog of the wheel is incredibly important. Your next big step is to truly evaluate each one of these individuals' contributions to the organization very honestly. Sometimes it's really easy to overvalue someone that's loyal and a little bit hard to be like, oh yeah, it's really great to have a good performer. That's what I should get all the time. It's really important to really honestly evaluate both so that you can encourage and move both. And lastly, once you try to do this, once you try to move your loyalist towards a more uncomfortable position, if they're really hesitating to buy in, then you have to make the hard decision, because you don't want your loyalist to create a tension that's so deep between that individual and a performer that they truly lose sight of the fact that the team is what should become the priority. And if the performer also isn't able to appreciate some of the things that the loyalist brings to the organization, and you find them complaining about this person or trying to overstep this person when you don't want them to, that might be an issue too. We just also want to remember that there are so many different parts to a team that each one of these individuals, if coached correctly, can become very, very critical in your organization. So your job here is to shift your loyal person into this truly stable person that can contribute a little bit more. And oftentimes loyal people really do want to be recognized for their loyalty. And so there's a way as a leader for you to really engage their loyalty and challenge them to lead your band of stability people. You know so much about this organization. It would be really great if you could help with this band of our group. They would really benefit from your expertise or your wide view of the long haul. And I think that is a way to really inspire your loyal person to embrace change when they feel like they have a little bit more skin in the game. And then for your talented person, you really want to coach that person to be a captain. And a captain is like your right-hand person and someone you see being able to continue to move up the ranks and continue to become a leader within your organization, you really want to keep developing them towards that. You want to pull them in. You want to share information with them that can help make them very successful. Not that you wouldn't do that with your whole group, but if you have a truly talented individual that can really turn into a captain and become a pivotal person within your organization, you really want to take the time to develop that individual and allow them to see the growth potential within your organization. If you've worked through this process, if you have been really honest with your loyal person, I need to see more growth out of you. I need to see you take on new challenges in order to stay with us. And your loyal person is able to make that shift. You have now created someone that's very stable in your organization. Additionally, if you have been able to coach and shape your performer into more of a leadership role, you're also reducing your risk that way. And then you're also reducing the tension between your loyal person and your performing person, which is ultimately the goal. However, if you've gone through this whole process and your loyal person is still sort of digging their heels in, not wanting to change, not wanting to move outside of this comfort zone, then you really do need to make a hard decision. However, you want to give that individual the chance. So you want to go through this process first with that individual before you have to make the hard line decision. For your performer, it's a little easier, even if a performer isn't 100% bought in, to keep them around for a little bit longer because they're definitely performing. If you're not able, though, to shift them towards more of a leadership role, you know you run the risk of losing that individual to a different company, a higher role somewhere else. So you do also want to continue to work that individual into more leadership roles so that you're reducing your risk there. Thanks so much for joining me today. I have office hours on Tuesday mornings and Thursday afternoons, Eastern Standard Time. With a little bit of advance notice, I can also arrange office hours outside of those times. If you have leadership questions, if you have a problem to work through, if you need some coaching with your C-suite group, if you have a particular team within your org that needs a little bit of work, feel free to reach out.